As Real Broker's profile grows and more people are made aware of the brand, I think a lot of people are going to be asking themselves the question, should I join Real Broker? Let's get into it. My name is Jesse Lynch and I run multiple real estate teams around the United States, and frankly, I'm only interested in working with agents who want to do things differently. So if that's you, come hang out for a while, hit the subscribe button, I don't know, hit me up. This video is talking about that question. Should I join Real Broker? Specifically in the year 2024, I'll be dividing it into 3 sections, which is yes, no, and maybe. And I'm gonna do it in that order. I think the maybe is really the things that people who are on the fence should really try to be considering. I joined Real Broker just a little less than a year ago, so my opinion may be biased, but I promise you, I did a lot of digging, a lot of soul searching and deciding, is this the right move for the future I'm trying to create for myself? I have pretty wild ambitions of the things that I want to pull off and the amount of people that I want to help and all that. And so my yes column is much bigger than my no and my maybe. If I missed anything, I would love to hear your feedback on those things. I genuinely hate the feeling of being sold to, so I try very hard not to sell to people. This is really just how I thought about it, how I think about it right now. If I'm talking to somebody, I would not be afraid to tell somebody Real Broker isn't the right fit for you if I truly believe that. I don't care. One more person coming over to Real is not going to change my life, but if it was a horrendous fit for them, it could dramatically impact their life in a negative way. I'm not trying to do that. So I really want to have a genuine conversation about these things. And again, for me, it's a really good fit. I'm very glad I went over there, but that won't be the case for everybody. So who do I think should definitely join Real? First is people who pay their brokerage more than $12,000 and especially more than $18,000 in splits and fees kind of combined. I think that's a very basic way to start the conversation. If you're paying more than $18,000 into your broker, I think that's a very basic and foundational and just sort of like dollar to dollar question that you should ask yourself. Have I paid my brokerage more than $18,000 in a year? Real Broker's cap is $12,000 for individual agents and team leaders. It's $6,000 for team agents on a team. As an individual agent or team lead, when you cap at $12,000, you're gifted like $2,000 in stocks. And then you pay about $300 per transaction after that, which is super, super low, lower than just about anywhere that I know of as far as 100% brokerages or anything like that. And once you pay $300 about enough times that you've paid another $6,000, so you're up to $18,000, you hit a lead agent, at which point you're gifted $16,000 in stock. So you've paid in $18,000 in splits and fees. Now you're getting $18,000 basically at that point in stocks. The stock program, I say this all the time, stocks bore me to death, but knowing that I can do the behaviors that I would be doing anyway and be getting this stock, I looked at my stocks today, I was pretty stoked. I don't care. I find stocks so boring, but that was pretty cool to see in less than a year. The amount of money or value or whatever I've acquired in stocks has been very, very cool. So simply, if you pay more than $12,000 in cap, or if you pay overall more than $18,000 to your brokerage, kind of for any reason at all. And frankly, if you pay less than that, there are other reasons, other benefits that you would want to consider this. But that's like, if you're a pretty big producing agent, so if you're paying more than that to your brokerage and you're like in the mid-level, whether or not you're hitting elite, I think if you come over to Real, you will be pocketing a lot more money from your commission. Another type of person that I think definitely should consider joining Real Broker are very ambitious agents and team leaders who want to grow their business and want to grow their network, want to sort of pull in new agents to their team or to work alongside them or something like that. And a big part of that is the revenue share opportunities at Real. I'm the first one to say that a lot of the rah-rah feeling around revenue share at other brokerages is a huge turnoff to me, right? I think the way Real handles it is actually responsible and not a massive turnoff. I really like that a lot of what they're doing is they're not allowing people to recruit. They don't want it to feel recruity. There are rules about that. So personally, that helps sort of cure a lot of the stigma that I didn't like about other brokerages that do some type of revenue share. If you're attracted to that, if you think you would have a knack for bringing people in, then you could really benefit from revenue share. If you're like a people person and a connector, then it's definitely worth considering. Another person in the yes column of this question is basically top producing agents at your brokerage, whatever brokerage you're at. If it's a smaller boutique, if it's a mid-level, if it's big and you're the top producer, basically, the way that I think about it is, there's an old saying, couldn't tell you who said it, probably somebody very wise who said, if you're the smartest person in the room, if you're the most ambitious person in the room, if you're the most successful person in the room, you need a different room. But I do know people who I think are probably the smartest person in the room and definitely the most successful and most ambitious person in the room, and they don't have anybody to look up to. I felt like that at my old brokerage. I did look up to my broker, and I thought that he was doing a cool thing, but it wasn't the thing that I wanted to do, right? That was not the avenue that I wanted to go down. It felt a lot like babysitting, and I wasn't particularly interested in that approach. And honestly, a lot of what I do is in this sort of digital realm, is on YouTube and social media and things like that. And I felt I was light years ahead of him and most other people at my brokerage. So I felt like I need a little bit more motivation. I need somebody who is so far ahead of me that I can go, oh, that's where I want to be. So if you feel that way, if you could use a different room, a bigger room, a more successful room, then Real Broker has a lot of that. It's national. Yeah, the room might be a Zoom call, but there really are some people at Real teaching courses that are really high level. And I think that's actually a huge factor for people who don't feel like they have direction or don't feel like they have a North Star or even kind of a North Star, right? Something to model themselves after within reach in one way or another, even if that is Zoom classes or, masterminds or things like that. And then next up is a very similar person, but I would say let's take away the top producing agent thing. You don't necessarily have to be like absolutely crushing it to feel a little bit of this. And I think this is just agents who feel like they have nobody to go to for advice around growing their business. A lot of people who are good at doing, a lot of people who are good at maybe running a real estate business are bad at teaching it, right? I went to a school for audio production. There are some people who were brilliant as it pertains to actual audio production and abysmal as it pertains to teaching audio production. So if you don't have somebody that you feel you can go to, I think it's worth considering Real. And partly because I think you'll find a fairly collaborative vibe with Real, but also because the online classes, they are in person. It's not just watching a video that was recorded, although you can do that. It's live in person where you can be talking to people who are doing pretty incredible volume, and you could say, hey, here's the thing I'm trying to do, or here's the thing I'm thinking about. Do you have any input on that? Those things I think are so valuable to agents of all kinds. So even if you're just doing okay, but you're trying to, 2x, 5x, 10x your business, if you don't have somebody who's willing to proper talk about that with you, then I think you should consider going somewhere else. And I think Real will be a very good opportunity for you. Another person who probably might want to say yes is agents who prioritize online marketing. The reality is, I think a lot of these older, more traditional style brokerages and brick and mortar, to be honest, are a little more stuck in older traditional ways. And not that those don't work. That can work, right? I'm not saying that doesn't work, but if that's not what you want to be doing, then why are you hanging around a bunch of people who are doing that thing? If you're trying to be somewhat online in your business, then an online brokerage is probably a good idea. And I think you'll find people who are like-minded and are thinking that way in terms of online digital things. They are going to flock to brokerages like that, and Real Broker very much has that soul of we know that this is the future and this is what we're doing. Literally the whole brokerage is online. And so I think you'll find there's less friction with that online part of your business. Another person who should consider or might want to say yes to moving to Real Broker are team leaders in general, team leaders, but who are doing decent to solid production. It probably depends on the splits of your other brokerage, but as a team leader, I realized I was paying in a lot just in fees, not to mention 100% brokerage type splits where every transaction is a certain amount. If you're doing any decent volume as a team leader, I think you will benefit quite a bit. As a team lead, your cap is only $12,000. So that's your personal cap. All of the individual agents will have their own caps as well. But I went from personally paying, I think, $66,000 or something like that in a year between just transaction fees, which is like sliding scale, whatever, transaction fees and additional brokerage commission, BAC, whatever you want to call it. Between those two things, I paid $66,000, and at Real Broker, I've paid 18, and I've got 18 back in stocks, plus more. I'm a net positive just for being at Real Broker and doing all of the same activities as I was doing before. Another type of agent that I think might want to say yes to the Real Broker opportunity, there's a couple people that I have in mind who I know pretty well who are go-getters, they're sort of self-starters, and they're doing a good amount of production. They're maybe not like number one at the brokerage, but they're cooking, right? Things are moving, life-changing money for them, right? Where they're like, oh, this is more money than I've ever made, a cooler lifestyle, all that stuff, but they want to keep pushing for more. I think the sooner the better, right? If you can get out of somewhere that doesn't provide you certain opportunities, doesn't provide you certain benefits, like revenue share and stock programs, if you can leave somewhere that doesn't do that before you're 10 years in, I think you'll be glad. I look back at the previous 3 years at another brokerage, which by the way, I'm not hating on that brokerage. I think they're a good fit for some people. But I look back on the volume that I was doing, the amount that I was paying in, and what I wasn't getting in terms of stocks or in terms of revenue share, anything like that. Just in stocks alone, I would probably be, I don't know, $200,000 richer, maybe $300,000 richer, something like that. And so, yeah, I kind of kick myself a little bit for that, but what are you gonna do? It was a learning process, and here we are, and now I'm trying to tell you that before you get too far down the road and you could have started now on some of these things. It'd be great if you could before you kick yourself for not having done it before. Another type of person that I think should consider Real Broker or is in the yes category of this are determined, very determined, brand new agents. But, and by the way, I want to make a whole video on this. Is Real Broker good for new agents? It's a big yes, but, or maybe kind of question. It super depends, I think, on that person's personality. But brand new agents who are very determined to make this work. That's how I felt. I was like, I'm going to make this work because I'm so sick of all the other shit that I've been doing, okay? I was truly, it was like laser focus. I will pull this off. I will change my life in this moment. It's like a Rocky montage or like a weight loss montage or something where it's just like, I will pull this off. I will change my life in this moment. I just made the decision that I was going to do this. But so very determined brand new agents, but who are self-motivated, who wake themselves up and get after it, but also who learn well from digital formats, like just the internet in general, YouTube videos, books, audiobooks, I suppose forums, although mostly like Facebook forums are mostly just noise, distraction, and cause you stress. But then also online classes, online Zoom calls and masterminds and things like that. If you think that suits your lifestyle, learning style, working style, then I think it's a really, really good place. I think I could have done well at Real right out of the gate, although there were certain things that I think I benefited from with having a brick and mortar. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. So another person who should be considering or might want to say yes to Real Broker is if your brokerage doesn't feel collaborative at all. If you feel like, an N of one, if you will, if you feel like you're just alone in the universe and there's no collaboration happening, and you wish that there was, then I think Real Broker is really great. It's national. There's a lot of, you can learn from somebody if you live in Alaska. You can learn from somebody in Florida who has zero concern that you're going to take from their market share, right? And so people seem to be very selfless in their information, in their collaboration, and I think that's a massive asset to Real Broker as a whole. Another person in the yes column is basically, I think if you have like a magnetic personality, or if you are influential, I don't want to say influencer because that's an annoying word, but if you find yourself influential, if people are attracted to working with you or find what you do inspiring and you have something about you that does that, if you have a knack for attracting people to want to work with you, then Real Broker could be outstanding. The agent attraction side of Real Broker, the revenue share side of things can be truly life-changing. I'll admit, I have not done much of that. Even these videos, transparently, I would love if people join Real Broker because they watch one of these videos. But I even make these videos a little bit more to help agents who are going to join my team, right? Or who are considering joining my team. I want to be able to say, hey, go watch a bunch of these videos and see if you think that it's the right fit for you. Now, again, if you're watching this video and you're inclined to join Real Broker, but not my team, awesome. I'd love to be the person who you put down. But I think if I had been giving this major attention in the past year or so, and if I continue to do so in the next 5 or so years, that the agent attraction side of things, the revenue share more than anything, could really be just game-changing money for me. Even just with attracting agents to Real who are on my team and the revenue share that I've seen just from them, it's crazy. Again, it makes just being at Real Broker instead of another brokerage a net positive. I literally don't spend money that I would be spending. I make money that I would otherwise be spending by being at Real Broker. Another person who should absolutely be saying yes to Real Broker, in my opinion, are agents who are doing their thing. Regardless of how much money you're making, how much volume you're doing. But if you need autonomy in your business, if you want to start your own brand, right? If that's the goal, which it should be, by the way, watch a bunch of this video, a bunch of this channel. So much of it is about how you need to have your own brand. You need not just the autonomy, but you need the freedom to do things your way, and you'll attract people who are like you. Life will be cooler, your business will be cooler, easier, less friction, and more successful. So if you as an agent want autonomy to run your business largely within the law and within the rules of Real Broker, how you want to, and create a brand how you want to, but you want support. And you want support from a wide variety of people doing a bunch of different things. In the educational wings of Real Broker, there is education and support for so many different styles of business, right? It's not just the online and social media and digital marketing and things like that. There are like sphere pros, cold callers, geographic, farming, things like that. There's a ton of support across multiple different things. My avenue, my niche is much more digital, but I've seen all these other ones. I'm like, oh, cool to know that if I ever had an agent join my team who wanted to go that route, I could point them in that direction. Which actually, I didn't have this on the list yet, but if you run a team and you want to have like a diverse, style of how these agents are running their business, and you want training, Real Broker is very, very cool for that. Basically, I think of it as like, what a teamerage. I think that's a thing where it's like a brokerage, something that feels like a brokerage under a bigger brokerage, where you could provide training across many, many different sort of niches but you wouldn't necessarily have to be the professional or the expert in any of those things. You provide support in other ways, maybe you generate leads or whatever, but then Real has these systems in place that make your life easier. So for any team leader who is maybe thinking about joining a brokerage, I would tell you, whoa, put on the brakes. Consider Real Broker. Consider the expenses and the benefits to joining something like Real Broker. And can you join basically the same exact business with less headache because of those additional efficiencies that Real Broker has in place, while also fundamentally creating the business that you want? And I think this rolls very nicely into the next one, which is people who should say yes, I think, to Real Broker are agents or team leaders who want a very simple logo and very simple branding to sit alongside their brand. In real estate, by now, maybe you know this, if you have your team's logo anywhere, in theory, the Real logo should be next to it, right? Should be alongside it in one way or another, should be clearly visible. And a lot of brokerages' logos, in my opinion, are hideous, truly hideous. I think Real has the nicest logo of just about any other brand. It's simple, it's 4 letters. I know EXP is 3. My opinion, EXP's logo, very ugly. Real Broker's logo, nice, simple, sleek. It can go with a wide variety of aesthetics. It's like a neutral logo while still being very clear, hey, this is a brokerage, this is a brand separate from whatever brand is above. So I know that's probably a small calculation, but it was something that I was considering. I didn't love the logo that I used to have along with my logo. I thought it made everything look a little bit busy. Real, on the other hand, feels nice and simple. And lastly, people who should say yes to joining Real Broker are team members who are on teams where the team leader is going over to Real. Frankly, you don't have a choice if you want to stay on that team. Maybe you could, try to mutiny, I guess, but I don't think that's going to happen. So if your team leader is bringing your team over to Real, and that's why you're watching this, to be like, do I want to join? I think the answer should be yes. Even if the numbers at their face seem worse, maybe you're somewhere with 100% brokerage, and now you're going to 85-15, and you've never had to have a split like that or a cap like that, it will be better in my opinion. Even if per transaction before you cap, or maybe total depending on how much volume you're doing, if per transaction you would net a little bit less because of the splits and all that, I think if your team leader is doing better and has a sounder business with less overhead, hopefully that rising tide will lift all ships, and you are one of the ships, because if your team leader is any kind of rainmaker or provides you very, very valuable support to you, which they should, if they don't, why are you on a team? If they do, and their business is more difficult to run because they make less profit per transaction, then your whole business is at higher risk of being, not working very well. So if that's you, if you're an agent on a team, this is me saying, go with them. If you have a good relationship and a good team and that's a good situation, go with. I think you will find that there are really outstanding opportunities at Real Broker. So that's everything for the yes category. Now I want to jump over to no. Who do I think definitely is not probably a great fit for Real, or Real's structure would just really not work very well for? And I do want to make the caveat of a lot of these are going to be no, or find a team that would offer the things that you are missing by joining Real, if that works. The first no that I think wouldn't make that much sense is if you're a solo agent doing pretty well who doesn't want to join a team, even if you're just a solo agent, a new solo agent, don't want to join a team, you want to grow your own thing, even if it's slower or whatever, and you feel a need for a brick and mortar office, right? You need a brick and mortar office, and you can't afford your own, okay? And I do want to say, are you sure you can't afford it? Are you being cheap? Are you thinking about this like a business? Will the benefits of what you're paying whatever company you're with that has a brick and mortar office, or switching over to Real, would that free up money for you to then afford a brick and mortar office, which they don't have to be that expensive. If it's just like, I just need somewhere to go where I'm not at home, a home office doesn't do the trick, or there's too many distractions, or I have 100 roommates or something like that, then can you afford a small office, I will also say, if that is you, and you can, and you think you can't, but you can, I think that might be one of the best investments you make. I have a whole video about this, about stop saving money as a real estate agent and what the important things to spend money on are. And I think spaces are a huge, huge part of it. Another person who I don't think Real Broker will be the right fit for are solo agents who feel they have no direction and need to be around leadership daily, right? Or very, very frequently. If you think you would flounder without being able to show up to a brokerage where the broker then says, "Okay, guys, this is what we're doing today." If you think that is extremely important to you and you want to be a solo agent and don't want to join a team, because there are teams at Real who could basically be that for you. But if that's really important to you, the brokerage works, but the broker is the one basically saying, "This is what we're doing today," then okay. I would say that broker probably should join Real because they're running a team, basically. If they're super, super hands-on like that, that's like I don't know, in my opinion, it's a little bit of like a self-employment thing, less business owner, but what are you gonna do? And so if you are not a self-starter and you just need somebody to say, "Do this," then okay, then maybe Real isn't the right fit, or find a team within Real that is. Another agent or person who should probably not join Real are solo agents who feel hopeless without brokerage provided leads. So if you're a solo agent and you don't want to join a team, but you're at the mercy of leads provided to you by your broker, Real is not that, right? Real is not just going to be dishing out leads, and I think that's good. I'm glad Real doesn't have some stupid lead program, because I think that's a waste of most brokerages' money. Rather than handing you leads, I think they should be teaching you how to get leads. I think Real Broker does a phenomenal job of that. And frankly, I think brokerages who just are dishing things out don't really. I think it's a thing that a lot of brokerages provide because it's a thing that agents think that they want. But I don't know. I don't think there's the longevity. I think you should be thinking of your real estate business like a business, and you're not an employee. Otherwise, yeah, you're just an employee at another brokerage. And again, I know there might be some people out there who don't agree with me or think that's harsh or think that that's inaccurate, but that's how I see it, and that's what this channel is all about. So another person who probably should say no is an agent or team leader who is dead set on starting their own brokerage. If that's a goal for you in the near future, then I don't know, then probably don't bother switching, right? If you're just gonna do a whole new thing, I don't think that you're gonna have any support for that, although I don't know any brokerage that would really provide support in you starting another brokerage unless they sort of partnered up with you. But I think, to me, Real Broker is a really good way to have something that feels very close to a brokerage without all the, I guess, headache and friction and legal requirements and things like that, the overhead basically to run a brokerage. So if you're gonna start a brokerage, then maybe Real isn't that good of a spot for you. If you're thinking about starting a brokerage, I would say maybe think about bringing your team to Real, because I think there will be a lot of similarities, again, with less of that headache. Last no column person that I can think of is somebody who has equity within a brokerage or an immense downline at another brokerage. Basically, if you have golden handcuffs, which again, Real Broker is sort of provides golden handcuffs. My stock program, right? They take a while to vest, and so I have stocks in an account, and it's cool. It's cool to see it there, but it's not really my money yet. It has to vest, and so if you have those golden handcuffs somewhere else, it might be really, really difficult to switch over to Real Broker. That said, I do know of some sort of, let's say, big dogs from other brokerages with downlines who have come over to Real. I don't know if there's some kind of deal or anything with them, but that is interesting to me that there are people leaving places with downlines where they must have had pretty robust downlines, and they left. And same with equity. If you are at a broker who was cool enough, or what was, you were a big enough fish in the pond to demand or acquire equity of that company, then that might be a harder company to part ways with. So let's talk about people who I think fit into the maybe category. I think these are people who could very well fit nicely into Real Broker, but also there could be some friction involved. Either way, just people who I think really need to take a good look at it. Is this going to work, right? Is this going to be a positive move for me overall? Again, there are people with crazy downlines at other brokerages or equity in a company who came over to Real because they saw the opportunity and the value at Real. So, I think if you're thinking about these things seriously, a lot of these maybes, it's probably 50-50. It might even be 60-40, but depends on the person. I maintain not everybody would be a perfect fit for Real. So number one, maybe, is new team leaders, somebody who just started a team, right? You're just getting a team off the ground and you need a little bit of hand-holding potentially from your broker, somebody who can meet with you maybe super often, almost even like mediate the team, sort of act as like an assistant, an organizer within your team, even if it's just sort of like an authority looking down and sort of giving you advice. I think that could be really helpful. I think that's something that you might be able to find at a brokerage that you can't find at Real quite as well, unless you can find another team leader who is interested in, helping you along with that. Now, at Real Broker, that said, if a team leader is promising you things in return for joining Real Broker, like, yeah, I'll help you start your team, that's not allowed within Real Broker. So they're not playing ball how they're supposed to. So just be aware of that. That could come around to bite you if you're a person who, accepted that. I'm not sure. So keep in mind, nobody should be promising you something like that to join Real, especially like in your downline. But if you have a friend, even not at Real, or somebody who you see as a mentor who's willing to give some of that oversight, that could work out well. It's also possible a broker at Real would be interested in providing you that kind of thing. But I would say if you're gonna try to pursue that with Real, you're gonna want to use sort of like the Real Broker Academy, the online learning and the Zoom calls and things to say, hey, how does this work? And maybe once you're within Real, you could try to schedule calls with people. But yeah, you shouldn't be getting anything promised to you in exchange for you joining Real. And another person who I think should take a good look at their situation and run multiple calculations before just joining Real Broker is a team leader who has a good amount of agents, right? Let's say many agents who do small volume, and you're at a brokerage with like 100% commission, with a very, very, small per transaction cap. I tend to think 100% brokerages or the commissions with really, really small percentage caps are good for people who are doing low to mid-low volume. Once you start doing mid-high to high volume, I think then you start to pay in as much as you would if you had just done somewhere with a cap, right? And maybe the layout is different, but a lot of those places, in my experience, don't really offer anything or offer less. Because once you start doing a certain amount of volume in transactions, if you hit a certain threshold, then the amount that you would be paying in after capping starts to lower. And there's sort of a point of diminishing returns with a 100% brokerage commission, because typically those go on indefinitely. There is no cap, there is no time where they stop. So any 100% brokerage that has basically an infinite cap, where there is no cap and you'll just pay a certain percentage or some sliding scale percentage forever, that at some point has diminishing returns. If you hit a certain threshold of volume versus a place with a cap, especially somewhere with a low cap like Real Broker, that there's a point of diminishing returns. And I think you should run the calculation of where that is. So then I think, there's the calculation of could I make more money versus the value of being around people I like. Would those people disappear from your life? Would they have to? Or could you be at another brokerage and still, have time with those people? It depends. Depends on how I don't know, familial a brokerage might feel. If you leave, they might feel just totally betrayed, and then okay, and then you're not hanging out with those people anymore. And that sucks. That's a bummer. But then another calculation that I think you should consider if you just love being at your brokerage. And now a sort of another tier to that thing is if you love your brokerage and you love what they provide you, but the splits aren't good, then okay, then ask yourselves two questions. Am I providing my own leads, right? Or am I getting spoon-fed leads? Right? Is my brokerage just handing me leads and I'm not doing any work to get that and the splits feel high? Well, I got news for you. They're doing a lot of the work for you. Getting leads is one of the hardest parts of being in real estate. So if they're handling that part, but the splits aren't that great, well, start trying to get your own clients. And if you can start to get your own clients, then maybe there's an exit that could happen at some point when you become autonomous, when you're getting your own clients. But if you're, a soldier in somebody's lead army, then that's hard. That's another type of golden handcuffs where it's like you're basically quitting a job at that point. So you need to decide accordingly. If you leave, will you not have any clients? Well, that's a problem. If you are in that situation, I would implore you to watch this channel and maybe other channels like it and figure out how to get your own clients so that you could have autonomy and leave and move on to somewhere that's potentially greener pastures. And then lastly, I think it's again similar note, similar idea, and I'm sort of harping on this concept because I think more people are in this situation than not, which is that you love your broker, you love your leadership, you love the other people at your brokerage, you really enjoy them as humans, you've grown to have a tight bond with them, but you just don't think the opportunity is as robust as it should be, or you think that there are better opportunities out there for you. I think that's a tale as old as time, and I think that's something that you really need to reckon with, is the opportunity and the potential for growth and a better situation, a better future. Is that worth the relationship, the friendship that I have with these people at this brokerage? Will I find that friendship down the road? Can I maintain that friendship? Those are all questions that you have to ask. Depends on how tight those bonds are. So that's it. If you want to work with me, hit me up, jesse@tothetwincities.com, or there's a link in the description if you want to join Real. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.